in petrol and diesel prices at the end of March. Unleaded 95 petrol is set for a R2.18 per litre drop, with 93 set to decrease by R2.05. Both grades of diesel are expected to fall by around R1.65, with illuminating paraffin down R1.98. This will take place next Wednesday on the 1st of April, and the Automobile Association says the crude oil price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia continues unabated, with demand for oil further suppressed as world economies retreat due to the coronavirus pandemic. The AA says not even the precipitous fall of the rand against the US dollar has been able to arrest the fuel price reductions, which are historic, and in practice all these drops will be slightly less due to the 16 cents increase in the fuel levy and 9 cents increase in the road accident fund levy. And in the meantime, the 21-day lockdown is going to have serious implications for most businesses. A number of listed companies have outlined projected losses for the period of inactivity, and some retail stores may not sell a single item during this time, as consumers will be vying for basic essentials. So for one retailer, this time last year, sales reached about 1.2 billion rand, and this year the number will come out on the downside when the coronavirus brought China to a standstill. 3 months ago, it made alternative arrangements to keep supplies coming. Now, inventories will pile up while sales stall, while local production is suspended. So alcohol sales were increased this week as consumers stocked up ahead of the lockdown. But Wine and Spirits Group Distel said it will donate alcohol to manufacture sanitizers, although it will not be able to export alcohol to its operations elsewhere on the continent. Growth Point shareholders, unlike some of its peers in the sector, will receive an interim dividend. However, it has withdrawn guidance for its final payout later this year. South African banks were among the biggest gainers as the JSE continued its tentative recovery yesterday. Their performance this year is also uncertain, and in recent months, Ingham Analytics has raised the red flag over the increasingly difficult conditions local banks face. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has worsened the outlook for financial institutions, coming on top of last week's 100 basis point interest rate cut. On to other news, the plans of small businesses are going to be scuppered by the total shutdown for 21 days. All SMMEs and franchise owners, as well as their workforce, are now experiencing the devastating economic impact of the coronavirus epidemic. And according to the Franchise Association of South Africa, it's important that assistance be given to franchisees so that they can, in turn, keep employees on the payroll and weather the storm in order to survive until the pandemic has passed. So Vera Valasis is Executive Director of the association and joins us via Skype. Thank you very much for coming on board.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you going to help franchises?
Well, we are extremely concerned about the long-term survival of some of the franchised outlets, especially some of our franchisees that have already been trading marginally before the outbreak of COVID-19. And we are very concerned that some of these outlets may never be able to reopen their doors. But we are extremely heartened by the Department of Small Business Development that have set aside the SMME emergency funding package, which can be accessed via their website, as I'm sure your listeners know, and they are offering 3 interventions, one being the Business Growth Facility, 2 being the SMME Relief Finance, and of course restructuring of CIFA-funded SMMEs. And we're also very heartened to see the Department of Labour has issued their temporary relief scheme for employees and employers, and of course the UIF published the Easy Aid Guide for employers. Of course, all these documents are available on the association's website if anyone needs assistance or may be looking for information.
Well, at the moment, when you see people going to these franchises, most of the time they're not really heeding the call to take precautionary measures to take themselves, rather to protect themselves. So what is the message coming from your organization regarding strict adherence to protective measures by each and everyone?
Well, the association stands firmly behind our president. There is absolutely no way that the regulations would not be strictly followed during the lockdown period. And of course, we encourage all of the franchises in our industry to strictly adhere to the regulations.
When it comes to providing sanitizers, ensuring that people are covered, because I mean, like you can imagine, even social distancing is not observed at all times, and when people are in queues, they talk to each other, having conversations, and it is through, spitting of saliva or anything that can happen. The inevitable is likely to really occur. So what about this heightened awareness of strict measures in place when people enter and exit all the entry points of these franchises?
Well, I'm sure you know that in terms of the franchise industry, it's really only the food retailers and the water franchises that are currently trading, because the rest of the franchise industry falls outside of the essential services bracket. So I'm sure you've seen in the media that the retailers are making every effort to ensure that physical distancing is maintained. There are hand sanitizers at entry points and exit points. So I think everybody in the industry is working really, really hard to educate our consumers and to assist them with sanitization as and when the opportunity is there.
Right. Thank you very much for making time. Vera Valasis is Executive Director of the Association for the for the franchises of this country. All right. Let's take a break and over to Peter with sport.